So I'm very interested to hear this very particular accent that is, or dialect. First of all, what would you call it? This dialect, Llanito. Would you call it a dialect? Would you call it an accent? Would you call it its own language?
Well, it's not a full dialect because you couldn't speak Llanito all the time. What you do is you pick up some words which you mix from the English and the Spanish. So then you make your own sentences. So you can start in English and then finish, terminar la misma frase with words that you've remembered. If you don't remember them in one language, la mete del otro idioma, and that's because you're speaking with someone que te entiende, pues there's no problem. Cuando luego va a hablar, with somebody who doesn't speak either one or the other, ahí donde entra el problema. Porque se hace sin pensar, ¿verdad?
So you don't really think about it, and it happens. But and how do you learn that Spanish side? Because you're born and raised in Gibraltar, so how do you
bueno, it's changed a lot. Por ejemplo, en mi generación, yo nací en el 71, my granny didn't speak English fluently, so con ella hablaba en español todo el tiempo. And then, in school it was English all the time, y todo era el idioma oficial, el inglés, so you'd be all the official stuff in English, and then you got home and you spoke Spanish. Pero the next generation, like my children, because we didn't speak to them in Spanish from a young age, which we should have, es nuestra culpa en verdad que no lo hemos hecho. Entonces, pues, they found it really hard to learn Spanish. They understand it, but they don't talk. A veces le dan vergüenza, or they just, don't feel like. But they understand what you're saying. And for us, sometimes when we get mad and all that, and the swear words, a lot of them are in Spanish, porque es más expresivo. Tiene más, en el de latino, temperament comes out more than the English. But it's all a mixture.
That's very interesting. So, does it happen to? Well, I was just asking you off record whether your accent is different from the UK. So,
like if we go,
do people ask you if you go to
see
the UK,
where you're from or whatever, and it's quite bizarre because you travel the world, being such a small place, 5 square kilometers, and not even a point in the map. When you're traveling, you meet Gibraltarians, Llanitos everywhere. I've met friends or rather, people that I know in the Masai Mara. We crossed trucks, and suddenly I recognize them, and also you might be in a shop and you hear somebody talk Llanito, and they're from.
You'll just hear them talk a little bit of
Yeah,
English
that's right,
Spanish.
and the accent, which is very distinct for us, so we would recognize un Llanito de otro.
So, what's it like to be, or what does it mean to be a Gibraltarian?
For us, it's everything, because we're a culture pot. We've got all our cultures melted in one big pot, and as I said before, there's from Italian, Portuguese, Greek, Moroccan, Spanish. We're all fused together, and we've built an identity over the years. A lot of it through adversity. So we've stuck together as a people, and we've grown and developed to what we are now. And you speak to any Llanito, we're very proud of our flag and of our unique identity for us, por lo menos, ¿no? Que nos sentimos muy. People say, "Oh, you English?" No, we're not English. We're Gibraltarian. British, part of the British family, so we're British passport holders, but we're not English, we're not Scottish, we're not Welsh. We're British Gibraltarians.
Very, very interesting. And do you think Gibraltarians remain in Gibraltar for the most part, or do you think that because I don't know if this is an American thing, but wherever you're born and raised, unless it's a big major city, you want to leave. You're like, oh, I'm ready to go to a big city. I want to go to LA. I want to go to San Diego. I want to go to Chicago. And we're talking about big cities that people were born in already. And they consider them small, and they consider them, okay, I know this city well enough, I need to go. And they may not they may not really know their cities that well, and still hold this sort of weird resentment against the fact that they've only been there.
Yeah.
So what is it like for Gibraltarians?
It happens here as well. I mean, you get all sorts. Some people just don't want to leave and never ventured out. But because our secondary education is outside of Gibraltar, or rather, there's only one small university recently opened in Gibraltar. Prior to that, everybody went abroad for secondary education, mainly the UK. So I spent 3 years in Scotland, my wife in Sheffield, and so on. And those people who aspire to further education will go out. Then once you have your chosen career, if there's no opportunity to come back to you're an aeronautic engineer or something like that, you know that there's not going to be any job for you here. So some people choose to remain abroad. Doctors and all that develop their careers abroad, and some of them do come back then in the later years, because as a base, Gibraltar is fantastic. The security, there's a support system. In half an hour you've got the in Spain, the beaches in Tarifa. An hour and a half to 2 hours you can be skiing in winter in Granada. You jump on a flight and you're in London in 2 hours 45. So as a base it's fantastic, and especially base. Family and support system. When we were outside Gibraltar, you see that you're on your own, especially when you start a family and things like that. So a lot of people live with that, and others come back to the base.
And how's the weather? Is it as sunny as it is today, for example?
Oh yeah, I mean this is now for us summer, a full swing. But you would get days where it's overcast, because we've got a huge cloud that clings onto the top of the rock. We call it El Levante.
Oh, is that right? But does it have anything to do with the city of Levante in Spain?
No, not at all.
It's just called
El Levante because it's El Levante and Poniente. Those are the two weathers and the two winds. So the Poniente is from the west coming in, and the Levante from the east. So maybe that Levante from that side. And when it's Levante easterly wind, that's when you get the overcast usually and the rough seas, and you get that quite often in summer as well. And the Poniente is more a drier weather, crisp and clear.
So I guess in terms of weather, the UK is not really known for having the best sun.
Well, they've got a heat wave just going on just now.
Yeah, but most of the year it's raining, right? So
Absolutely.
I guess you guys get the better end of the stick. But it's interesting that you mentioned that you don't really you feel like you're from this part of the world, from Gibraltar. You're not from the UK. That you feel like a brother of the UK, but that you're not one from there. So you said that university was recently built. Was that in this past decade in Gibraltar?
Sorry, was that
the university that you mentioned?
Yeah, the university. In fact, my wife works at the university, and that was set up like 2 years ago. And it started with vocational courses that were being held, and then it's now rolled up to degrees, bachelor degrees and masters and doctorates. So people doing research now in the University of Gibraltar. Delivered mainly by local lecturers who've come back to Gibraltar after being away in other universities, working in other universities. And it's picking up, but we're talking about a population of 30,000, so you cannot offer every course in like the UK would offer and things like that, so it's quite restricted in what can be offered and the funding, etc. So most people, would find a university in the UK and that's running the courses that they want to do, and that's it.
That's very, very interesting. And so you said 50,000. I've heard 35,000. I've heard
35,000. Yeah.
35, 50,000.
Well, the statistics, it's 32,000 local inhabitants, but then, for example, we've got 10,000 cross-border workers. So
daily workers.
Yes, registered.
Wow.
So they're coming in daily. And then there's about another couple of thousand who are not registered, which are like they clean the houses and things like that, the domestic service and all that. But they're not in the statistics because they're not registered as such.
Not registered. And even among such few people, is there a dangerous neighborhood? Is there richer neighborhoods? I mean, is it still divided just like a main city would be, or is it just one big kind of vibe?
It's quite bizarre because when you go around and you'll see the prices of real estate on the shop windows, the real estate windows, you see that there's like London prices, and the price of a penthouse would be £3 million.
Wow.
For about 200 square meters, and these are
200 square meters.
Yeah, mainly in high-rise buildings, because of there's not much land to build on in Gibraltar. There's very few villas and standalone houses. There are some, like mainly in the edges of the rock, and houses that were previously military. But most of them are in high rise, and then you get a multi-million-pound high-rise building, and 100 or less than 100 meters across from it, you'll find a state building, a government rental accommodation. So like they can see into your living room nearly, and they're paying £27 a week for a 3-bedroom flat.
£27
Yeah.
a week. It's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's a government rental, and then 100 meters is a multi-million-pound that you paid tops for.
Strange. But are you saying that's a government assistance program?
Yeah, there's two things. There's government rental, and there's a system which could be said it's similar to Monaco, where government assists the local with housing, so they remain there because otherwise they can't afford to, and what's happened in many years is that they've gone to live in France and only the rich people live in Monaco. Well, the same thing was happening to Gib. A lot of people living in La Linea or nearabouts, and government started building co-ownership properties. So the government retains 50% of the apartment, and they sell 50% to you, or 50 or 30, depends on the ratios, what you can afford. And that's called a subsidy, housing subsidy.
Right.
And that's scattered all over Gibraltar. So you'd have government estates with privately owned, government with luxury, within 100 meters of each other.
Wow.
So there's you can say like in the south there might be a gated community, so there's a zone that you say more affluent people live there, but it's not like in any major or any larger country where you have different districts and zones and no-go areas and things like that. That doesn't happen here.
So what kind of animals do you see on the street in this place? This place is known for having monkeys on top of the rock.
Yeah, well, they live on the rock, but because there's the numbers are increasing, there's several packs, and they're being a pack animal, they divide with a pack leader. So you have some that venture down into the city area.
Yeah.
Looking for food and stuff.
Are they friendly?
There's different packs. There's really wild ones that can get quite vicious.
Really?
And then you get the really tame ones where the tourists take the photographs. But there are animals at the end of the day and unpredictable, so you've got to be careful.
In the streets of California, you'll see squirrels, different animals get run over. Do you see monkeys get run over in this place?
Occasionally, a sad occurrence, but it does happen because, especially when they're venturing down in town. And we do get drivers going around the rock fast. So
Yeah.
there have been occasions where they have been knocked over. The other animals that you see are dogs and cats. You know, that's about it.
Cats.
Some goats up the rock, but
Yeah, and what do you know the reason why the monkeys love the rock, or why it's historically been a?
there's a funny myth, obviously untrue, but that there was a tunnel, because they're also found in the Atlas Mountains in Morocco. So those are the two areas where they're found.
I see.
And the myth is that there's an underground tunnel where they come through, every so often, back and forth. Obviously, it's untrue, but it's thought that they came in pirate ships or whatever as pets,
Oh wow.
and then they bred here and remained on the rock. So the numbers have really dwindled over the years, and then increased. So when during the Second World War, they really dwindled to just one pack, and Sir Winston Churchill, at the time Prime Minister of the UK, said that we needed to maintain the presence of the apes on the rock, and he said the military took care of them, so they used to feed them and take care of them, and the saying is that as long as there's Barbary monkeys, because they're monkeys, on the rock, the rock will remain British. So they try and chop them up. But
Right.
because there were so many, a couple of years ago, a pack was exported to Scotland,
Oh okay.
to a reserve there, because they were going down into town and bothering, so they were deported, shall I say.
So, besides the daily crossers, besides the people born and raised and that have stayed here, would you say mostly it's like the UK is tourist hotspot for a weekend getaway or summer getaway?
Well, in fact, we're only experiencing more overnight stays now, because the air corridor with the UK is open, whereas it's not with Spain. So the British tourist is coming to Gibraltar and staying. There's only about 780 hotel beds in Gibraltar, and they're all occupied for the whole summer.
That's it, 780.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
it. So we can't cater for tourism in large scale. But it's nice to see them staying over. Usually they just come for the day. So what we used to get,
They come for the day.
yeah, those 7 million visitors a year, they are visitors to Spain, to the Costa del Sol or the Costa de la Luz, which is down Tarifa way, and then they would buy a tour of Gibraltar and come in a coach for the day to see the monkeys and go around the rock, or have their hire a car and come and do the visitation. So now is only when we're seeing the overnight stay from the UK.
So overnight meaning just one night.
Well, overnight as in they may stay a week or whatever, but usually it
Oh,
was
I
just
see.
day visitors.
I see.
And Gibraltar has a lot to offer for, not for 2 weeks, because we haven't got the beaches, we haven't got the infrastructure, the capacity to take on large scale tourism, but there's like diving, really good sites for diving. There's a lot of military history, so you can go into the rock and visit all the military fortifications within the rock and all that. You can hike the rock. You can do sailing.
You can hike the rock,
Yeah.
right? How do you hike it? Do you just go?
Well,
up?
there's paths and all that. I mean,
there's
hiking. When I say hiking, it's not like rock climbing, because it's limestone and it's really brittle, so
Right.
you cannot like climb the rock.
But I mean, there's trails.
Oh, yeah.
That
So
get
there's
you up to
something
the-
called Med Steps, Mediterranean Steps, and that goes round
Do you know how long it takes to get up there?
about an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
No, sorry, an hour and a half. Like from here, if you want to go up, but the actual route you can do in half an hour.
Oh, that's nothing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You mean an hour and a half starting from where?
Well, like if you start from here, so the route starts here, and then it goes all the way up to the top, and then you go down the paths. So, I mean, I'm saying an hour and a half. By the time you get up there, do the route and come down again.
Yeah.
An hour if you're a quick walker. But I saw you walk in.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about doing it because.
But it's worth it because, especially on a day like today where it's clear, so you'll have really good vision. You'll see the apes.
You'll be able to see Africa.
Oh yeah, you will today.
I think that's something I might probably have to do then. Yeah, very interesting place. I appreciate you talking to me about everything that.
I know it's a shame, because I've had work visits and work commitments that I haven't been able to spend more time with you and like take you around and show you that.
No issue at all. I mean, everything's a bonus with like COVID times, like being able to come here and be let in and have conversations with people because we used to take those things for granted. So anything that I can even get done nowadays to me is a bonus. And it's I mean I'm surprised by every stat you throw out from the hotel beds to the animals to the real estate to the language. I mean, something about Europe that every corner is different.
Oh yeah,
it's just not like that in the United States. Everyone's similar. Yeah, there's differences between states, there's differences between cities, but not to the extent of like a 35,000 person corner or Catalonia. You can say it so many different ways. Or los de Galicia, los Gallegos. Spain has just got so segmented into regions that are so different,
Yeah. How would you spell Llanito?
LLANITO.
That's a Spanish way, because LL in Spanish is ya.
Yeah.
Yeah. We would say with a Y, Llanito.
Oh, so the Y.
Yeah, because double L is not in our alphabet.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So then you mean both work, but in Spanish with a double L, but in English it would be with a Y.
Yeah, in for us Llanitos it would be with a Y, because we identify with a Y.
But do you identify as Llanito or do you identify as Gibraltarian or
Gibraltarian? But Gibraltarian is Llanito.
But what if a person who speaks? It's confusing for me. What about a person who's more Spanish speaking than English speaking? Is everybody kind of 50-50?
Not anymore because it's developed. But like most locally born and bred in Gibraltar would speak both Spanish and English. Then people who've come over to live in Gibraltar, which we have a growing population, expat community that you would think in other countries, but they are pretty much part of Gibraltar, but they might have been here like 4 or 5 years and they don't speak Spanish yet, so it would be just English.
I see.
But you don't have people living here who only speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So un español puro de Madrid no vendrían a vivir a Huertas without knowing. Whereas the other way around, yeah.
Yeah, you need both languages for sure. And I mean, so you wouldn't call it a tourist hotspot. You would call it what would you call it?
No, it is a tourist hotspot in terms of visitation because we have the figures, the stats.
Yeah.
But it's not a long stay destination.
I see. It's like you said at most a week.
Yeah, and that's only very recently, but we get more the older
visitor.
Yeah, and the older generation that would come for a week. Why? Because the older British generation, so straight from the UK, that come into Gib. You speak English, you use pound sterling, you got your gin and tonics, your same brands, you know what you're used to. So, and it's safe. So that's the sort of tourist we get longer stay.
Right.
Now through the airport we get about 150,000 a year tourist. We get locals going back and forth, but in tourism about.
Has a plane ever just not braked hard enough and flown into the sea? Because
we've had one incident in the last 50 years, I think that.
But so it's they got the methodology.
Yeah, down to the T.
Absolutely. Well drilled.
We also have tourist visitation via the cruise liner. So that's about
yeah.
accounts for about 300,000 a year.
Is that's coming from what? From Africa? Or?
Well, mainly Mediterranean cruises. So they stop
Right.
in Gibraltar as part of the route.
Oh, you're right.
So, we haven't had them since COVID, but they would come and spend the day in Gibraltar. They don't usually stay overnight, but it would the ship would come in, the cruise liner would come in 7 in the morning and leave at 8 at night maybe, and spend the whole day. So they get disembarked at the port, and then they get taxied around Gibraltar to see all the sights, and then they might eat something, shop, and go back. So that adds to the economy as well.
Good stop.
Yeah.
That's I've never been on one. Have you?
Yeah, many years ago, and it was a small. In fact, I went to the British Virgin Islands and then Puerto Rico and all that. So that it wasn't a Med one. It was more.
Are you in the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Caribbean. Also, you can't see the meeting point between the Mediterranean and the Atlantic here, can you? Is that more?
Well, the meeting point is so that's the entrance to the Mediterranean. So on this side would already be the Atlantic. This is a bay, so that's a bay of Gibraltar, and that's the Mediterranean. It opens up, so it goes narrow. If you look at the aerial map, it goes narrow, the straits, and then into the Med, out into the Atlantic.
So what about that fine line where the two oceans meet? Is that, have you seen that? You can't really see it?
Well, you will see if you draw a straight line, but we are plate tectonics and all that, so we're right on a plate, and that's where the continents were joined together, and the way they opened, that left the entrance to the strait, and then divided the Atlantic and the Med.
So this used to be together. Africa, obviously Africa and Europe were together before,
mm-hmm.
right? And then once that opened up, that's when they became two oceans.
That's right.
Okay.
And that's when, this is a sea and an ocean. Remember, the Atlantic is the ocean, Gibraltar is a Med is a sea. But that's how Gibraltar was pushed out of the sea. Originally, it was under.
It was under?
Yeah. And there are caves and prehistoric
and it just
findings
came back up?
Yeah.
So, what's the history about the rock being the way it is?
It's totally limestone, so
it used to be underwater?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then as the plates were pushed, it came up as a rock. You will see all the surrounding areas flat.
It wouldn't be the same without the rock. It makes the rock is Gibraltar.
How did you come in from Sevilla, you said, yeah?
I came in from, I did.
If you'd come in from the Malaga side, it's all, the coast is all flat, and then you see the huge rock just standing there.
Yeah, I just realized without that touch of nature, it would just be, maybe it wouldn't even be anything.
No, yeah.
I think the rock maybe attracted, attracted the British to go, that's ours.
Yeah.
Let's put our flag there.
Yeah, it's strategic. I mean, the pirates used to fight for it because it was an entrance into the Med. They came in through Gibraltar, the Moors, right up to Granada, but they came in through Gibraltar.
Right.
That was a stronghold. So strategically, it is important.
Yeah.
And that's why.
So you plan on staying here for the foreseeable future? You want to retire somewhere else? I mean, you don't look like you're close to retirement at all. But,
No. Yeah, but I don't think I like traveling, and I like going to Spain. But my home is Gibraltar, so and especially as you later on in life, you get more security in Gibraltar than so. If I'd be working for 5 years elsewhere, I'd always come back to retire in Gibraltar. The way things are at the moment.
Have you owned the same house that maybe because you have?
Yeah.
You've been a descendant of since the 1800s. So
Yeah.
is it the same house that you were passed on, or?
No. This is my wife and I purchased, but we have like property like from my great grandfather in the town centre.
You're renting out
Yeah.
for as a house, or is it a business, or?
No, well, it's commercial. It's a building, so it's commercial
Oh,
building.
it's an entire building.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it used
That's
to belong
nice.
to my great grandfather, and then my grandfather and his brothers, and then some brothers sold it to other people. So it's co-ownership, really.
Right.
But we retain, the majority there.
Parents still living in
Sorry?
Are your parents still here?
No. My mum passed away when I was about 21, and my
Wow.
father remarried, and he went to live in Spain, and he's since passed away as well.
Oh wow.
So I've got a sister in Gibraltar who's older than me, 3 years older, but I've also got a brother who lives in Spain, and he's 20 years younger than me, 25, yeah.
Is he
Because
your full
from my
brother?
father's second marriage.
Oh, half brother.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it's from the father, he's my full brother.
Is that
Yeah.
Is that how it is?
Yeah, it's odd because you'd think that from your mother, it's the same blood and it should be your full. So it's half brother if it's from your mother, apparently. And for me, it should be the other way around because it's the same
So
blood.
what's the science behind it? I
Huh?
mean, why? What's the science behind it? Why
Well,
is it
I don't think it's science. I think it's a social. Because the man always kept the line, and the woman was a secondary. I think that's how it came about. So the mother's only half brother. It's from your mother. It's silly, a brother's a brother.
Yeah.
That's how I feel anyway.
Yeah.
But socially, legally the same. From one or the other. But socially, it was always spoken about as a half brother from your mother and a full brother from your father.
Because I have a half brother, and he was. We have from my mom. It was the parent in common. So
There you go.
I thought the same. I'm like, well, yeah, we
Yeah.
shared the same womb, so it's like.
Is it older or younger than you?
He's younger. He's 15. He's gonna be a world traveler as well.
Yeah.
He'll be excited.
So amazing. I mean, I love to travel, and I did plenty of traveling when I was younger. Not that much with my parents. My parents, we always used to travel to the same place. Creatures of habit. But
As
then,
they do.
yeah. But with my friends, I was about 18, went to India, and things like that. And then for work, I've travelled a lot. When I got the kids, it really anchored me back on the rock,
Yeah.
But I love travelling, and I've been, for example, have you heard of the Round Table?
No.
It's an association, it's like Rotary, you heard of Rotary
Yeah.
International? Well, Round Table is a similar thing, but it started in the UK, so it's very much a British, but then it's all over the world now. So there's a branch in Gibraltar, and I was president. Because it's an international thing, wherever we went as a country. So I was president of a table in Gibraltar, the same as somebody from Germany was representing the whole of Germany. There's one in the States, So I got the opportunity of representing Gibraltar in many conferences, all that, in our own right. And I've travelled a lot with Round Table.
Wow.
It's given me opportunities, and I love travelling. Every time I get the opportunity.
Any more languages besides Spanish, English you've been able to learn?
Well, yeah, but a language you have to practice. So I speak some Italian. I did some German, which now it's only down to a few words.
Yeah.
French the same, and even though I travel to France or have a fair bit, but if you don't practice it, that's it.
Yeah.
Spanish and English because we do it on a daily basis. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we'd lose it as well.
How interesting. Very, to find a place that's similar to California in a way that has the Mexican American population speaking like that, Spanish, English. I don't know if you know this, but in the States, at least in California, a lot of parents that are Spanish speaking, I don't know what the infrastructure here is or the curriculum in schools. I don't know if they drill Spanish first and then they drill the English later or back and forth, but in the United States, there's no bilingualism that is implemented. If it's going to be implemented, it's going to be from your parents. And English is already the default at school. So what you have happening is you have a very mediocre way of, and it depends on the parent and how much they practice, because some parents do spend the time to teach their kids, not just, you know, verbal, but like, you know, grammatical and everything else. And you have people that speak English and Spanish pretty well, but it's either they speak Spanish but it's not very good.
Yeah.
It's either they don't speak it but they understand it, so their parents talk to them in Spanish, and then they reply to their parents in English, and they end up not even speaking the same language, and your parent and son. Or you have they speak, understand, but grammatically just not there.
Yeah.
So it's a huge lack of balance between the two languages. Which,
but that happens here as well.
Does it?
You'd be surprised, but all the different scenarios that you've described can happen in Gibraltar as well. Depends on the household and background, really.
Because they only teach English here anyways.
Yeah. Well, English is the official language, so all the schooling, everything, all the official is done in English. Spanish is taught as a second language. And then you taught in school also French as a third language. After a certain age, but you would pick up Spanish in the street as well. So the exam we do it as a foreign language, which is not really a foreign language because we speak it, but grammatically we're not correct. So we have to be taught, the proper grammar sometimes.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's understandable for here because it's a UK territory. So if they're not teaching Spanish, it makes sense. But also, they are teaching it, like you said, as a second language. But in the US, I don't know what it is. That's why I do what I do, and so I have a little channel called Spanish with Sam on my Instagram, and it teaches people about Spanish.
Yeah.
Not just like Spanish, but why in America there's a huge maybe ignorance to. I just don't know. People don't really pay attention to Spanish, and they don't. If they want to learn Spanish, they feel like there's not a real outlet out there that's gonna help them, or they feel like they're not gonna need it. But I feel like
if you look, English, Spanish, and French. You've got the most of the world, and Chinese because of the sheer size. But with those languages, you can communicate anywhere really.
Yeah. I've communicated. Everywhere I travel, it's English and Spanish. I'm going to Morocco on I think Monday. So, but they speak Spanish too.
Yeah.
In Tangier, I'm sure they speak Spanish.
Definitely Tangier.
And then maybe deeper into the country, they have to speak English. So
where are you staying tonight? La Linea?
Yeah, one more night in La Linea, and then Lisbon to then fly to Morocco. Cheaper flights. Spain and Morocco just are not getting along. They're raising prices. The ferries are shut down. I think Portugal just opened a ferry line from Portimao, but they haven't announced the date. So I was kind of waiting to see because I'd love to take the ferry. I wanted to take the ferry. How long is that ferry?
It's like half an hour.
Yeah.
The fast one's half an hour. Because it's the hydrofoil, it's the launch. And the other one is about an hour.
Yeah.
50 minutes, yeah. So
or you can swim.
Yeah.
But
it's a current.
Can you canoe or anything like that? Is there like kayaks or something like that people do? No.
No, well, people do it as a recreational thing, but not like to cross because there's very strong currents.
Oh, there
coming,
are.
Yeah.
Of course, the two
exactly,
waters meeting.
And people do drown trying to get across and all that.
So are the currents kind of like they take you down, or do they?
I think they take you out.
Take you out
into the Atlantic or things like that.
Oh wow! So you're just stuck out there.
Or you're just fighting the current all the time and you tire out.
Right. Yeah, I know this is the point where the Africans always try to float over.
Yeah.
But they have to take refuge because it's. Unless they do it at night and they do it at 3 in the morning, I believe.
That's usually what they do, and then run into the undergrowth and trees and all that to hide once they hit the coast.
Right. And then they just come into Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's probably so guarded now that they don't get away with it, or
they risk it, yeah. Either they're doing it into Ceuta, cross over a fence,
Right.
like they have in Mexico.
Yeah, I've seen
That's
it.
what- yeah. And once they're in Ceuta, that's Europe technically, and then they try and get a ship, or boat or something.
Well, don't Ceuta people kind of look out for people that? This is me just totally profiling just to see how they would see it. Right? Is if I'm a boat from Ceuta back to Europe and I see like 40 Africans on my boat, wouldn't people be like, oh, these guys are? I mean, how did these guys get here? Would they
Yeah,
say that?
they do. They're stowaways, so sometimes they're hiding, and.
Oh, they hide in the ships.
Yeah.
Oh, so you have to figure it out.
Oh yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm on a boat.
No. Some of them hide, where the anchor storage is, and some of the near the engines, and a lot of them die on the way because the accidents that it's desperation, really that gets them to that position, and a lot of them lose their lives unfortunately in the crossings, whether it's to Ceuta or the sea.
So close yet so far, huh?
Yeah.
Because
And different worlds, you think, we've got it good here, and then there's no opportunities, and people are
that's what I'm
starving really as you go down the Sahara and
in Morocco.
deeper into
You've been
Africa.
to Morocco.
Oh, yeah.
What cities would you recommend? Because I think I'm flying into Casablanca, but I haven't heard great things about it.
Casablanca's more cosmopolitan, but it's also very. It has districts and things like that, so it can be rough in some areas. But like the likes of Marrakesh, there's a touristic area and there's like the real,
What about Rabat?
Rabat is a capital. It's
Just a capital city,
Yeah.
kind of.
that's where the king resides officially, so it's a bit more controlled. But there's then even if you go to Tangiers and then you go up into the hills like Chefchaouen.
That's a blue city.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Marrakesh.
Fez, I heard was
yeah,
great.
Fez.
So if I get the Casablanca, can I take a bus to Marrakesh?
Yeah,
There's no blah blah car out there, is there?
could be.
There could be, huh?
Yeah. But there's the taxis or train.
I heard it's pretty well built, like the transportation system.
Yeah, the motorways are pretty good. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
A poor country, and then they've got good motorways.
That's good. I mean, I guess they're so close to Europe. They must have some kind of influence.
Yeah.
Because the motorways here are pretty good too. Have you been to Tunisia?
Nope, I haven't been. I want to go to Turkey en route to Jordan, which I'm going in November. I'm going to an expedition into Jordan in November. That's with a charity, so we're fundraising. It's the same charity I've been hiking in Morocco, the Atlas Mountains.
You hiked them?
Yeah.
You were talking about those right there,
Yeah.
right?
So it's called Rifcom. It's the Rif area in Morocco where we raise funds to help. But this expedition, it was meant to be last year, but now it's this November and it's in Jordan, so we're going to walk the valley into Petra. So that's
wow.
I'm really looking forward to that.
How long does that take?
We're doing it in 5 days, from the Dead Sea going up.
And it's kind of a rough journey, or
It's about 24 kilometers a day or something like that.
heat wise and
Yeah.
all that. I mean,
Well, in November it should be okay.
you're right.
But and there should be less tourism, hopefully, so it'll be...
Jordan's,
Yeah.
I've heard great things. I heard it's kind of expensive actually. They have a
It's
higher
become
currency.
touristic here, but lately because everything's been shut, so they're a bit more
Yeah.
welcoming.
Yeah, my plan is to go Morocco and Tunisia. I really wanted to see Tunisia because I can't go to Algeria, so I wanted to see Tunisia because I feel like nobody really goes to Tunisia,
Mm-hmm.
and I like going to countries that nobody goes to.
Okay.
And yet I am in Spain, second most visited place
Yes.
in the world. But
Yeah, I had an expedition planned. Well, it was a round table thing, in the desert in Tunisia with the quads and all that. And I twice I tried to go, and then one of them was when they did the terrorist attack, and that was cancelled. So, and then I just abandoned that. Now I'm going to Jordan.
yeah, Jordan. do you what? So do you fly in Jordan? Do you need a visa to get into Jordan?
No.
Wow, I think Americans do.
Yeah.
I think Americans do. You can get into Algeria too, can't you?
Possibly.
I don't think I can yet. Well, I know Americans are not the visa. We need a visa to get into Algeria, but Morocco is accepting vaccinated travelers, so good. And then Tunisia, I'm not sure.
For Jordan, I have to. I will probably have to isolate for a couple of days whilst we do the other test once you arrive. You know the.
It's gonna be a little bit of a hassle. Yeah.
But things are changing every day, so.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't go backward.
Spain changed for me. I didn't plan on coming to Spain until maybe 2 weeks before I came because it opened up, vaccinated card. I said I don't have to take a test. I can just show up with a vaccination record. Perfect. And I came, but I wanted to come to take the ferries to Morocco. And I find out that they're not working.
Because it's a nice.
I wanted to do that ride from. I have to come
nice
back and do it. I have to come back and do it. But I'm gonna do an episode on Gibraltar Llanito for my Spanish with Sam because it talks about everything.
Okay, there's a few groups on Facebook that you can join the groups and you find a lot of information there.
For the language?
Yeah, for the language and the culture and all that.
Okay.
There's History of Gibraltar, one of them. There's Gibraltar Memorabilia.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Llanito page, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Definitely, I'll definitely check those out. And then I want to do the episode about Moroccans crossing over to Spain. Kind of explain it with visuals. Teach. It's mostly for Americans and people in South America.
Are you on Netflix?
Yeah, I have Netflix.
Yeah, there's a really good movie. It was.
Is it Adu?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw half of it.
Yeah.
And I fell asleep. Yeah.
But it does show you from the Spanish perspective, and it was subsidized by EU funds and all that. But that is a reality of what happened.
Yeah, and it's a little boy.
Yeah.
Right. I think Africa is the most fascinating country. It's rough everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just tough life, and those people are made different. We're all humans, but inside it's different steel. It's different. Like I'm soft compared to those people.
Yeah.
That's why I can't go to a place like that and be like, mean mug people because the way that they've been shaped is.
It's tough. It's a different way of life, isn't it?
Totally different way.